This is tutorial video 1, which is an introduction to finite element modeling. This video is for those of you who have never run a finite element analysis, and we will go through the basic steps in a finite element analysis, which are the preprocessor, the solver and the post-processor. We will also go through the basic commands in the graphical interface of software such as SAP 2000, so in order to get familiar with the software. So regardless of the software you use for finite element analysis, there's always three main steps in the analysis. The first step is the preprocessor. In this step, the first thing to do is to generate the geometry. You create a finite element mesh using different type of elements. For example, you can use truss elements or beam elements, or you can also use plate elements, for example. Then you need to define the material and physical properties, and you assign these properties to the different elements and nodes in the mesh. Then you define the load cases and you assign each load to each load case. Once you finish the preprocessor stage, you can start setting up the solver. First thing is to know the type of analysis you are interested in. For example, if you want to run a simple static linear analysis or a non-linear analysis, if you want to do a modal analysis, backlink or dynamic analysis. You can also select the degrees of freedom you want to solve, or choose the type of elements you want to solve, and also set up some different options for the solver. So once in this stage, you can run the analysis, and you go into the last stage, which is the post-processor stage. In this stage, you can retrieve the information, so you can view the results in graphs, contour plots, or also in tabulated form. You can take this information and do post-processing calculations. Now we're going to see an example of how you will carry a simple analysis using a template model in SAP 2000. Before you run an analysis, if you are not familiar with the software, a good way to start is to look at help and to look at the documents. The manuals in SAP 2000 are very useful. For example, the manual for analysis is very comprehensive. Another way to get started is in the contents and index. It gives a lot of information about examples. You can see which type of analysis you want to look at. So you have trusses, inclined supports, cables, in tension, so all kinds of examples. And in each of the examples it goes step by step. Let's see if the document runs. So this is the reference manual for SAP 2000. So you can surf through the different options. So again, it's very comprehensive, and it gives information about each of the parameters. So if you have any questions regarding any of the parameters, they are all described in this manual. So another good way to start is to build a model using one of the templates. So you can start from a blank model or use one of the templates. For example, let's use a 3D frame for a building. So if we took a open frame building in 3D and we assume the default values, the model is already built. It's shown in two windows, but we can show it all in one window. All the commands around here are commands related to view options. So for example, this command here, which is sets the display options, is very handy. You can show the labels of the nodes, for example. You see, these are the nodes. You can show the nodes as dots. Another useful one is to show the objects as fill objects and extrude view. This gives you an idea of the type of elements that have been assigned. These are default values taken by SAP 2000, and of course you can change them to different type of elements and different type of materials. Also, SAP 2000 takes by default a load case, which is the dead load of the structure. So we're going to run the analysis with this default load case. So we can go to Analyze, Run Analysis, and then we can run the analysis. Before running the analysis, you will need to save the model. You see, in this case, for an elastic analysis, the analysis takes very few seconds. This is the deformation for the dead load of the structure. You can animate this deformation and see whether the deflection looks something that you expected. All the display options here on the right hand side are for post-processing. So for example, here will show you the undeformed shape. Here you have for the form shape, and you have different load cases for dead load. Yes, it will show you the values of the deformations at the nodes. For example, you can also plot here things like the bending moments in the major and minor axis. If you click and right click, you can see the member forces within the element, and you can move around the element. You can also plot the reactions. Again, it's very useful to take one of these template models and play with it and see if you can interpret the results.